Howdy folks, welcome back to another Tumblr user video. Today is I was today years old when. It's going to be a today I learned, but it's with pictures. I thought you all would appreciate that. I know that there's just something about having images on the screen when you're reading about a fact that makes it, better. So I really like it. I hope that you all enjoy it. If you do, please feel free to drop a like, comment, and subscribe. Now get into the video.
I learned that the seductive nature of the green M&M is a reference to an urban legend during the 1970s that green M&Ms were aphrodisiacs. I learned that Bob the railway dog would hitch rides on the South Australian railway system, travelling thousands of miles sitting in front of the coal space. He had no master but was loved by engineers and trainmen. He was given a collar that read, "Stop me not, but let me jog, for I'm Bob, the driver's dog." I learned that there is a Colombian species of frog called Alberts naputidia, or in English, Alberts not a freaking clue. This is because when discovered, the team had no idea of how to classify it. I learned that a field of seagrass converts carbon dioxide to oxygen at over 8 times the rate of a forest the same size. I learned about the ancient Italian city of Matera, where up until the 1950s, some people were living in caves as old as 9,000 years. I learned that Dave Thomas named the hamburger chain Wendy's after his daughter Melinda. Wendy was actually born Melinda Lau Thomas, but her siblings had difficulty pronouncing her name and called her Wenda. Thus, the nickname Wendy was born. I learned of Tibbs the Great, who kept the British Post Office headquarters in London completely mouse-free during his 14 years of service, from 1950 to 1964. In 1952 there was public outrage that the post office cats had not had a pay rise since 1873, and the issue was later raised in the House of Commons. I learned that scientists discovered a dinosaur tail perfectly preserved in amber. It is full of feathers. I learned about Mist Island, a proposed theme park at Disney World. A limited number of guests would get ferried to an 11-acre island designed like Mist. They'd spend hours there, exploring areas and discovering clues non-linearly. Theoretically, no two guests would have the same adventure. I learned that the reason snow is able to absorb sound is because it is porous. Snowflakes are 6-sided crystals, and they are filled with open spaces. Those spaces absorb sound waves, creating a quieting effect over a blanket of snow. I learned that in the 1950s, Denmark conducted a social experiment and abducted 22 Greenlandic Inuit children, assimilating them into Danish culture. More than half died before reaching adulthood. I learned of the Kengi-Giddag uprising, where inmates assumed control over a camp. Due to the large body of educated inmates, the 40 Days of Freedom saw the creation of plays, an ex-noble organizing a cafe, priests organizing marriages, engineers creating improvised radios, and a hydroelectric power station. I learned that the Three Stooges performed at the very first Super Bowl halftime show. During their performance, Larry Fine spotted a football player hitting on his wife. He flipped him the bird, and for this, he got in trouble with CBS and had to pay a fine of $42.50. I learned that in 1714, 2 gunships fought for 14 hours before one ran out of ammunition. The captain messaged his opponent, thanking him for a fine duel and asking for more ammunition so that the fight could continue. His opponent refused, but they then agreed to sail away in opposite directions. I learned that African elephants often bury dead or sleeping humans or aid them when they are hurt. One woman fell asleep under a tree and woke to find an elephant standing over her, gently touching her. As other elephants arrived, they buried her under branches. She was found the next morning unharmed. I learned that not long after Julius Caesar was assassinated, a comet shone for 7 successive days. This signified Julius Caesar's ascension to godhood, and propaganda for Caesar's nephew. The comet was described as, to make that solar star that burns forever, above the Forum and the gates of Rome. TIL that in the 20th century the phrase, "he never married," was a euphemism used by British obituary writers to imply that the deceased man in question was homosexual. I learned that a man was attacked for having a beard in 1830, then imprisoned for defending himself. He died in 1873, by which time beards were fashionable. His tombstone reads, "Persecuted for wearing the beard." I learned that Jason Page, the singer of the original Pokemon theme, didn't expect the song to become popular and knew nothing about the franchise when he recorded it. He considers the song to be a relatively minor part of his career, as he has worked with Michael Jackson, Billy Joel and Frankie Valli. I learned that Frank Sinatra died the night of Seinfeld's finale and his ambulance made it to the hospital in record time because traffic was so light due to everyone watching the show. I learned that after losing her position in her university's anatomy department in 1938, Rita Levi Montalcini set up a laboratory in her bedroom and studied the growth of nerve fibers in chicken embryos. This work led to her discovery of nerve growth factor, for which she was awarded a Nobel Prize in 1986. I learned that in 1896, a bubonic plague epidemic struck Bombay, and the government asked Waldemar Haffkine, developer of the first cholera vaccine, to help. After 3 months of persistent work, one assistant had a nervous breakdown and 2 others quit. A vaccine was ready, with Haffkine testing it on himself first. I learned that the Olympic flag's colors are always red, black, blue, green and yellow rings on a field of white. This is because at least one of those colors appears on the flag of every nation on the planet. I learned that when dreaming, hardcore video gamers have been reported to be able to toggle between first and third person point of view, readily take control over and even enjoy nightmares, and have more dreams that involve far-fetched or impossible scenarios, like imaginary characters or space travel. I learned that a woman sued a TV weatherman after he predicted a sunny day, causing her to go out lightly dressed, and when it turned stormy, she caught the flu, missed 4 days work, spent $38 on medication, and suffered stress. The case was settled out of court for $1,000, and the weatherman apologized to her. I learned that the Make-A-Wish Foundation granted a child to visit the set of Thor Ragnarok. When Thor sees Hulk enter the arena on Saka, the child said Thor should say, "He's a friend from work." I learned that Sri Lanka only became an island in 1480 when a cyclone destroyed the land bridge connecting it to mainland India. I learned that in the original version of The Princess and the Frog by the Brothers Grimm, the princess does not kiss the frog to turn it into a prince but rather throws the frog at a wall as hard as she can, which breaks the curse on the frog and turns it back into a prince. I learned that Tesla requires buyers to purchase cars online to circumvent state laws that require car sales to be done through franchise dealerships. Tesla stores exist only to educate potential customers and to deliver vehicles purchased online. I learned that when filming the TV series The Mandalorian in 2019, the crew ran out of stormtrooper costumes, so they reached out to the local branch of a Star Wars fan organization, whose members came to join the filming in their own homemade stormtrooper costumes. I learned that there are $100 robotic stuffed animals made specifically for senior citizens suffering from cognitive impairment and decline, meant to reproduce many actions and sounds of real animals. They provide comfort for those unable to care for real pets, much less themselves. Companion pet cat. I learned that there's a natural phenomenon known as thunder snow, which happens when thunderstorms form in wintry conditions, giving rise to heavy downpours of snow, thunder and lightning. I learned that ketamine was given to boys trapped in a cave to keep them unconscious and to prevent them from panicking during their 6-day rescue. I learned that for a while in the 2010s you could rent the country of Liechtenstein on Airbnb for $70,000 a night. This included hanging out with the monarch, temporary currency, the ability to rename streets and a key to country. I learned that Edgar Allan Poe died mysteriously after having been missing for 6 days, though still alive when he was finally found. He was wearing someone else's cheap clothes and not coherent enough to tell where he'd been. He had disappeared en route to his own wedding. I learned that since domestication, Dogs' eyes have changed. Dogs now have eye muscles that make them more expressive and infant-like. These same muscles are absent in wolves, their closest relatives. I learned that in 2018, a hacker broke into people's routers, 100,000 of them, and patched their vulnerabilities up so that they couldn't be abused by other hackers. I learned that Rome has major struggles with expanding the subway system in the city because diggers keep running into major archaeological finds. The Metro C expansion has been in the works for the past 40 years and has unearthed Hadrian's Athenaeum, a military complex, and an amphitheater. I learned that Kyrgyzstan is more distant from the ocean than any other nation, at a minimum of 1,620 miles from any ocean. It is the most landlocked state in the world. I learned that a baby's cuteness is key to their survival. Cute babies are just extremely hard to ignore, and this is likely hardwired into human brains. Less cute children are treated differently. I learned that Taco Bell has failed twice to expand their operations to Mexico. In 1992, Mexican customers found their tacos too expensive, and in 2010 their expansion restaurant closed because customers were unfamiliar with the menu items. Taco Bell. I learned that air traffic controllers get a break every 2 hours. When controllers remain on position for more than 2 hours without a break, performance can deteriorate rapidly, even at low traffic levels. I learned that Inuit in northern Greenland were using iron blades for centuries without knowledge of metallurgy. They made them by breaking pieces off of a huge iron meteorite and shaping them with heavy stones. They built their settlements close to the meteorite and used its iron for generations. I learned that curry was introduced to Japan by the British. The British brought curry from India back to Britain and introduced it to Japan after it ended its policy of self-isolation. Curry in Japan is categorized as a Western dish. I learned that in the Netherlands, if you die and have no next of kin, friends or family to attend your funeral, they will send a poet who shall read a custom poem for you at your funeral so that you won't be alone that day. It was started by poet and artist F. Steril and is named the Lonely Funeral Project. I learned about the symbiotic relationship of wolves and ravens. Ravens will lead wolves to prey so that they can take a portion of the leftovers, play games of tail chasing with each other, and develop individual friendships. I learned that the CIA revealed a heart attack gun in 1975, a battery-operated gun which fired a dart of frozen water and shellfish toxin. Once inside the body it would melt, leaving only a small red mark on the victim where it entered. The official cause of death would always be a heart attack. I learned that prior to making Finding Nemo, Pixar's in-house art team was required to take marine biology, oceanography, ichthyology, and scuba diving classes in order to get the look and feel of the characters and their world just right. I learned that the Brussels sprouts grown today taste better because they are genetically different. In the 1990s, a Dutch research identified heirloom varieties that are less bitter and bred them to be tastier and have a higher yield. I learned that Susan Summers was fired from Three's Company for asking for equal pay with her male co-star, John Ritter, who was earning 5 times her salary. I learned that firefighters have responded to last year's fire at Notre Dame New Which works of art to rescue and in which order following a protocol developed for such a disaster. I learned why Five Guys gives extra fries at the bottom of the bag. They do it so the guests think they are getting a good deal. However, the extra fries are already factored into the menu price. Founder Jerry Merrill also says it is better for customers to feel that their serving of fries was too large. I learned that the table in pizza boxes is to prevent the top of a food container from touching the food inside. I realized that Cisco's logo does not only represent an electromagnet but also the San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge. I learned that number 31 is hidden in the logo of Baskin-Robbins to represent its 31 original flavors when the ice cream restaurant first opened in 1945. I realized that "Oh Neptune" in SpongeBob means "Oh God" because Neptune is the god of the sea. Oh Neptune. I realized the Tinder logo is a flame because you get matches. I realized that the full name of Woody from Toy Story is Woody Pride. I realized that the L in the Staples logo is a half-open staple. When I realized flames don't have shadows. I found out that telling someone to break a leg before auditions means you're wishing for them to end up in the cast. Interesting. I realized that the two T's in Tostitos are people sharing a chip and dip. I realized I have been opening Tic Tac wrong and that it should be opened like this. I found out the hole in pen caps is to prevent suffocation in case someone, specifically a child, swallows it.
Thank you all so much for watching. Today I learned another Tumblr user video. I guess it is. Technically, I was today years old when. I hope that you all enjoyed it. If you're new to the channel, I try to put these kind of videos out 2 times a week at least. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. And I'm very open to suggestion in the comments as to any Tumblr users that you would like to see. These are in addition to daily Tumblr posts, so if this is something you enjoy, please feel free to drop some suggestions, but we'll also have the Tumblr, just normal Tumblr posts if that's what you prefer. I don't think I have anything else to say. So, yeah, have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon, night, whatever time of day it is for you, and I will see you all tomorrow. Peace out.